How can local talent go global? The demand for digital skills keeps growing everywhere, and the search for fresh talent has become a key driver of global tech investment. This gives O2LAC the opportunity to export digital skills to the world. But to unlock its full potential, we need further public-private collaboration, more investment in research and development, and an education that provides skills for the ever-evolving digital environment. Let's take advantage of digital opportunities to expand globally.
Well, very happy to be here. Thank you, Fabricio, Esperanza, the Jamaica government, Doctor. It's an honor to share the panel with you. It's my first time in Jamaica, and I think everybody here is like the first time on the panel to be in Jamaica. It's been a wonderful experience, and I hope I can come back with my wife and my kids. It's an amazing country, and we look forward to do a lot of business from Colombia and do a lot of business with you guys. So we have the challenge to talk about talent, and there's a lot of things you can say about talent. For instance, according to the World Economic Forum, we will have by 2025, just a year and a half, a high demand of around 95 million new jobs in AI, machine learning, digital transformation, community managers, all digital capacities and skills. But at the same time, we will have a decrease on demand around 87 million globally of people that would not have that kind of opportunities because the world has changed. So when you think about LATAM, and you have around 670 million people that live in LATAM, and we were talking about with you on internet penetration, there's a lot of things going on. Around 538 million people in LATAM has access to internet. Jamaica has around 68% of internet penetration, 4G, but we will have, hopefully in the future, 5G sooner. Same in Colombia, same in Argentina. I mean, the average is around 68%. And globally, we have 2.7 billion people that doesn't have internet. So at the end of the day, that people will need to have skills. They will need to have skills development and the capacity to, do a lot of things in different capacities, different sectors. So I was trying to do some introduction in terms of the world has changed. We have a digital era, a digital economy. We have a challenge in terms of connectivity, but it's not only about connectivity. It's what happens when you have connectivity and you don't have the skills? You don't have a job, or your job is going to be not anymore existing in the next 5 years or 2 years. So bear with me. I wanted to have a disruption in terms of panel. We've been here sitting 2 days almost, so we want to do something different. First is just give it a chance to everybody to present themselves and what they do, what is their organizations, and so you can have a more personalized conversation that what you represent. So let's start with Jimena.
Well, thank you, Santiago, for the introduction. Also, thank you, all of you, for having us here. This is my first time in Jamaica, as Santiago said, and hopefully won't be the last. So I'm the executive president of FESOFT. FESOFT is the Software Association of Colombia. We work, and we have been working for more than 30 years in order to strengthen the IT industry in our country with two main goals. The first one is to have Colombia as a hub of technology worldwide, and the second one is to make the IT sector as a very important sector in terms of GDP in our country. Nowadays, we represent more or less of 2.9% of our GDP. This is an industry that has been growing worldwide, but in Colombia, it's also happening. We are talking about a growth of 17% annually. So it's an important industry for our country. Then our efforts in talent are very, very strong. And we have a special unit in FESOFT that it's dedicated to close this human talent and digital skills talent gap that we have not only worldwide, but also in our Latin American countries, and it's the same in Colombia. In that term, in FESOFT, we work with a strategy that it's pointing to quantity, quality, and relevance. How relevant are the programs and the digital skills that we are providing to our people in the country, And we are very focused on quantity, because if we don't have quantity, we won't have quality, and we won't be relevant. And then we have different strategies that are pointing also to short, medium, and long-term, like in the future. And then we have programs that are we're working with schools, and we're also working with boot camps and with our industry in order to provide them tools to make people more employable and available for our industry. So that's basically what we're doing in terms of talent.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mira. Patrick?
Good morning. Good morning. Patrick Cohen. It's an honor to be here. Thank you very much to the organizers. Also very special to me. This is my country of birth, so excited to be speaking on the panel here. Caprock Solutions, we provide talent strategy, talent solutions with academic institutions, government, federal government of the US, as well as companies helping to design program management, as well as curriculum design, vocational programs, and so forth. I come from a background of 15 years in this space. I scaled out a program called NPower in US and Canada, from 90 students to almost 10,000 students a year, training them in various technology topics. We've helped individuals, young adults from underserved backgrounds, as well as military veterans and their spouses. We've received funding from the federal government, from big corporations, and we placed them at Google, Bank of America, you name the big companies. And we've received funding from billionaires like Robert Smith, Mackenzie Scott, Craig Newmark, and Dave Stewart. So excited to talk about this region and see how we can collectively work to attract the employers to this region for the great talent that we have here.
Wonderful. So we have Colombia, Jamaica, and the US, now Chile.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you very much to everyone who's attending the conference. We've had a great time, and we hope that this panel is entertaining and enlightening. My name is Felipe. I'm an organizational psychologist and entrepreneur. I've been working for the last 15 years in talent development through technology with over 1,000 Latin American companies and over 2 million people. Our perspective is that in a world that's continually changing, talent management and talent development is key. As we face the problems of inequality and education in the Latin American countries, opportunities like the arrival of the information revolution, outsourcing, and now AI can either work for us in terms of solving these issues or against us in terms of making inequality wider when it comes to access to these technologies and access to the skills that you need in order to make the best out of them. So we're very committed with this issue and happy to share our insights here with this amazing panel. And I hope you have a good time, because we're going to have a great time. So,
thank you, Felipe. Dr. Dana, happy for your new appointed, a new challenge, and new position, so happy to host you here.
Thank you very much, and I have to say welcome to everybody. Welcome to Jamaica. It's good to be here with all of you. I've been learning so much from this panel here, but for those of you who don't know, I was recently, that's 3 weeks ago, appointed minister with responsibility for digital transformation and skills in Jamaica. And I think that says a lot about where we see the future of Jamaica. The future is one that is digital, and the future is one that also understands that skills development is a critical success factor for us going forward. And not many countries have someone at the ministerial level that's dedicated to that, and that says a lot about where our Prime Minister's vision is. Now, in terms of what I'm supposed to be doing, I need to set out that broader strategy about digital transformation. And sometimes it seems so nebulous, but what's digital transformation? It's about efficiencies. It's about inclusion. It's about how we provide services to our population, and especially when I talk about it from the government standpoint. How do we enable our citizens to access services with dignity and in an efficient manner? And that's what it's about. So that efficiency term is very important, but how do we get there? There are many different components, and for me, I look at it from the entire ecosystem. And so we have to obviously start with skills. Skills is central to everything that we're going to do. And then obviously with digital, the digital revolution allows us even more latitude in terms of reach and getting our programs delivered in innovative ways. So that's important. So that's one peg. We also have the peg in Jamaica of even just digital identity and having an ID, people having an ID where they can access services and they're not excluded. This notion of exclusion is very important, and we need to look at how we be more inclusive as we do everything that we do. And then there's the other element of cybersecurity. So we're saying to people who in some instances are skeptical of technology and digital that this is the way of the future, but they've been excluded quite a bit from that future and that now. And so it's very important that we take them along as we do this. And then of course, the infrastructure element is critical to all of this. And I keep saying inclusivity. It cannot just be that some children, some young people have access to training, have access to technology. Everybody has to have access to technology. Our skill or human capital is what's going to take us forward. So we have to have broadband access expanded. And that's a key element for us, and we're going to have to work with the private sector. And the last thing I'll say is, as I do this, as I look at skills, as I look at digital transformation, it's not a government initiative. It's a country initiative, and the private sector is going to have to be a lead in it. And I see my role as kind of being that conduit through which the private sector can work and that the government gets out of the way and supports.
Wonderful, wonderful. We wish you the best in that kind of function. And now Mexico.
First of all, howdy. Great to be here. Very excited to be here, very energized to be here with you all. First time in Jamaica as well, so I really love it out there. I love the weather, I love the people, I love the energy. And I'll present myself. My name is Jesus Lopez. I am one of the co-founders of CodersLink, and our mission is to believe that talent knows no boundaries. We're a talent marketplace that connects global scaling companies with talent that's amazing from Mexico and Latin America. The way that we do that is through a set of talent solutions that allows talent to get to their next goal of their professional career. And we also empower companies to find, recruit, and upskill this talent through a suite of services. Today, I want to bring whatever I know about talent, whatever these 8 years have brought to me about learning about the region, about the intelligence, about everything there is to this, because talent is amazing. And whenever you get to meet those people for the first time, and I've done a lot of first interviews for people that we've placed, and those stories inspire me. Reading them, hearing them, listening to their passion, listening to them, how their lives change is what drives what we do and what CodersLink does every single day. And it all starts and ends with talent. And that's why today I'm very excited to talk about you guys, what I know about talent.
Thank you. Well, I think it was important to have that kind of introduction and know who is sitting in front of you and have that kind of conversation. So now, Dr. Dana, you mentioned about the public and the private. You just, 3 weeks ago, you were in the private sector. So you know it's critical, the collaboration between the public and the private. And there's no one single bullet to train the people.
Right.
What are you trying to do, and what will be your first priorities and projects in terms of talent development for digital transformation?
All right, thank you for that question, because I think public-private partnerships are at the center of any kind of development thrust that we want to do in our countries that have not been able to leapfrog in the way that we've wanted to. And I think that if we even look at this conference today, and the work the IDB has done with the GSS program in Jamaica that has been able to, they're expecting, and I know it will happen and probably exceed it, triple the number of people in a particular sector. I mean, it was a nice number, it was a big number, and we were all very excited about it. But then we take a project that was very much linked to the private sector, with the government being responsive to the private sector needs, at least in the space of global services, and then developing programs where our educational institution in terms of Heart, Trust, and STA is able to deliver the training that's necessary. So that private sector, public sector nexus, when we see the success of this sector, it's because it was not just the government saying, this is what I want to train. It was the private sector saying, this is what we need. This is our vision of the future, and we'll work with you in developing the programs that can take us forward. So that's one element that shows you that if we're going to be moving forward with whatever sector we decide in our countries is that sector that will spur growth, it will not happen if we don't have the skills, and we will not have the skills if we do not have it be demand-led and led by the private sector. And I think this project that the IDB has done has shown that that is the right approach. And so even when I talked about the broadband and the infrastructure being an impediment to skills training and us not being as inclusive as we want to be, even in addressing that, we have to use that same context of public-private partnership, because in our countries, our governments don't have the resources. And so it's absolutely critical that we harness the capital that's available in the private sector and give it space to provide all of the missing elements that we need in terms of moving forward in skills development and ultimately to the development of our country.
Totally. Patrick, you mentioned that you live in the States, you're from Jamaica, and you know there is a shortage of tech in the United States. Is that an opportunity for LATAM, and how we can manage to have that opportunity here?
Absolutely. I've been in this space for about 15 years, and the numbers haven't changed, right? There continues to be a tech gap, and also an issue with diversity, equity, inclusion, representation, particularly with women in this space. So as Dr. Dixon mentioned, as far as the infrastructure, that's very, very important. And having those public-private partnerships where the companies are bringing the curriculum. What do you need? Like, what are the skills, not only for today, but 5 years from now? How do we prepare this pipeline? And really, it's a multifaceted approach. You're really starting at early childhood, really investing in the school system so they're exposed to these talents. Coming from Jamaica, I just knew doctor, lawyer, teacher, basic careers. I didn't even know technology existed, but unfortunately, that's still the issue in these regions where technology isn't seen as a career pathway. So in addition to having it in the school systems in the US, they have something called career and technical education schools, where you can get industry certifications and actually hands-on experience. So they come out post-secondary with the skill sets, right? So that's how you build a broader pipeline. So you're partnering with those schools, you're partnering with the universities, and in the Latin American Caribbean, STEM is still not a big subject in these colleges. And I think also, how do you address the demand today? So vocational programs, like the program that I led and grew, are very important because they need that talent today. And giving you some examples of some public-private partnerships. In 2014, the company was acquired, but a Semantic came to my organization and said we needed cyber talent, and we wanted diverse talent. So they gave us $3 million over 5 years, and we built a program. And it was great. We added all the industry certifications and the training, but I met with chief information securities at Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, and many others, but they said to me, these individuals can't learn this in such a short period of time. So what we did, we gave them free internships for these companies. And today I can tell you 10 years later, it's a national program, and some of those early adopters or young people at the time are now vice presidents, head of cybersecurity of these organizations. So just want to reiterate with companies that the talent is there. I've met some of the smartest young people and individuals from the inner city. If you're talking about Jamaica, go in the hills of Clarendon, go in the inner city of downtown Kingston. The talent is there, so it's really the companies providing the curriculum, the funding, the internships, the apprenticeships and jobs for these individuals. And we've spoken earlier about there's a bottleneck though. When they come out, they get trained. Who's gonna give them the opportunity for that first job? That's the issue. HR departments are asking for 2 or more years of experience. So apprenticeship programs are very vital. Germany, 1.3 million individuals are in vocational programs. All throughout Europe, you'll see vocational programs, apprenticeships. That is the key to build a pipeline, and it's a collective effort between academia, government, and the private sector to be a part of this.
Wonderful. So we already talked about public-private partnerships, tech shortage and how we can do it. But we need to talk about gender gap. And Jimena, you're a woman leading the digital economy in FEDESOF. What are the priorities, or how can you do that better? How can you reduce the gender gap, and how is FEDESOF leading that?
Well, gender gap, I think that we have to work insistently and in a lot of fields, and we have to see it like a problem in many fields. So when you go to gender gap here in this industry, this is an industry that has been normally being led by men. And I'm very happy to see a lot of women here also in this space, because that's one of the main things that has changed over the years, that we need to work more on gender gap. Then what happens in Colombia or around the world is that a lot of women don't want to study this type of careers, or they don't think that this type of careers are for them. And then if you go and see the numbers from the total amount of people that it's, for example, in Colombia, enrolling in these type of careers, 20 or 17% around are women. Then when you go to the companies, and our companies raise their hand and they say, we want more women working, and we want to have this gender equality in our companies, but the truth is that we have a gap, we have a human talent gap, and we need more people working. Then it doesn't matter if it's a woman or it's a man, we need the digital skills in the person who's attending the position that I'm looking for. Then I think that we have to work from the base and from bottom up, and then we have to start creating and eliminating these stereotypes around what working in the IT industry means, and we have to establish all these role models of the women in technology that are leading our industry, not only in Colombia, but also worldwide, in order to make more women aware of the opportunities that they have in this industry. Something happened with the pandemics, and it's like the ability to work all over the world, and the ability that this, or the ability that this industry has when working virtually. And I think that that's a very important thing for women who are also caregivers in Latin America, because that's the reality. We have also social inequalities in our countries, and then it's not the same for I don't know, a woman that has all the possibilities to work to go and work to a special place, than for a woman that is a caregiver, or that doesn't have all the opportunities, where she doesn't have also the time to go to a place and work from there. So I think that virtualization in the pandemic is a huge opportunity for us women to work in this technology world. And also we have to understand their needs. So it's not the same, as I was saying, to see like vulnerable places where women want to work, and we have to attend them differently. We have to understand that maybe it's not only the work what they need, but they need also some other type of learning, some other type of skills. So I think that it's also something really important to work with the private and the public sector, because we have to understand where we are, which are like the differences between women and between gender as well, and how we can work with specific population groups in order to fulfill that gap and to work as I was saying, in every type, in every cape.
Okay. Jesus, so now we talk about solutions. You have a platform. I visit your platform. Very easy. Please go and visit. Give you some commercial ad here. But how are you doing, or how specifically in terms of a shortage of full-time developers, how platforms are making solutions and helping that kind of capacity in terms of companies and techies?
Definitely. So the first thing I would look at is, what are the challenges right now? The challenges is that talent is global. The pandemic forced digital transformation, 3 years of digital transformation in a sake of months. So what's happening? Global companies need to hire global talent because they need to keep on the lights. They need to keep on their product development and sort of service development, and they need to continue competing. What's the challenge with hiring globally is you don't know the market dynamics. So you don't know what the culture is, what they're interested in, how deep does the market go, and then how do they actually tap into that? So it's on a first set of challenges is understanding the market, then understanding the market depth. Is the market going to scale? Will the market include the talent that I need? And then is the operational aspect of it. Will I be able to deliver on what they need in terms of payroll, benefits, upskilling, management, you name it. So it's a set of challenges that they have, and what tools and what talent management platforms provide are exactly the solutions to build that gap, to bridge that gap, which is initially market intelligence, so understanding deeply what the market is about, what the range is in terms of salaries. So co-hosting, what we do for Mexico, and we're planning on doing it for Latin America in the coming years, is we build a salaries report based. This year's report is our 4th edition, and we've done over 35,000 interviews, and we gathered information about market preferences, salary ranges, developer densities from different areas. And what we want to do is provide a single set of intelligence so companies can make right decisions and really unlock the true potential of the region, because I believe that is one of the things that can happen if they don't do it properly, is they will not be able to fully unlock the region's potential, and they just scour away. And then they lose that opportunity, and the region loses that opportunity. So that's what we're thinking about. Other side of the coin, the solutions and all of the back office management to make it easy to tap into the region, and again, fully unlock that opportunity. So there are plenty of different management platforms that are available to do that, and in a sense, my recommendation here is just to have a conversation. Understand what they're all about, understand what they can do. Everyone has a different set of skills, everyone has a different set of particular strengths. So the more you know them, the better you can make a decision, and the better you can tap into the market that will allow you to really unlock the potential for talent. That's the gap.
Good. Felipe, so talking about all these contexts in terms of workplace training, upskilling, reskilling, we talk about talent development, the skills that we need for the 2025, for 2030, but what about technology helping that kind of matter? I mean, is easier now, is affordable? With your experience, why don't you share that kind of your reality in terms of training?
Well, thank you for the question, and thank you for everyone else. It's been incredibly insightful. One of the main things that has happened recently is that many technologies that were only available to companies that had huge budgets are now commonplace, like AI platforms that you can use. So 5 years ago, if you wanted to use AI in your organization, you needed a guy with a PhD and a bunch of analysts in order to get it going. Now you just go to ChatGPT and you make it happen. And the same thing has happened with platforms that allow you to acquire skills and certify yourself on those skills. So that's great news for a big segment of the IT population, which is self-taught, right? They have the drive, they have the skills, they can make the best out of these opportunities. But it would be naive to think that that is a representative sample of the potential that countries like Jamaica and many other countries in the region have in terms of developing the capital, the human capital, in order to make the best out of these opportunities. So, my take on this is that we need to start thinking on a more human level, on a wider scope in terms of who is going to be the recipient of these skills. No 10-year-old gets up in the morning and says, I want to be a full stack developer, right?
They want to be YouTubers, or
they want to be
TikTok,
musicians.
like
They want to be firemen. They want to be they want to be artists. They want to be teachers. They want to be things that they know, right? So I guess one of the main things that we need, as well as infrastructure, education, is that we need heroes. This is the way that society solve this issue. So if you wanted to, you can take a look at traditional mythology and say, or what I could consider mythology. So you have Aristotle as the ideal philosopher, Pericles as the ideal statesman, Achilles as the ideal warrior. So we need stories of people that come from your background, that play the same games that you play, that turn into successful professionals through grit, through skill, and through engaging with the opportunities that governments and the private sector are trying to put into that. If you start working with that mindset, then you'll create a mentality of growth. Children have that mentality when they come into the world. I have a 2-year-old. Yeah, he can do anything. It's incredible. And as you see him grow, you start seeing how school and friends and the environment start, like cutting down some of those skills and pruning those curiosities. So I guess I work with HR. I work at the end of the process, right? There's not much I can do there. But focusing on children, on their development, on opportunities, on creating cultural heroes that represent that path to development, that path to growth is crucial. And we won't see the fruits of this labor until the next generation, which is awesome because they're the ones that are going to be working when we retire. So there's a silver lining to that as well.
Well, it seems there's reactions here. Good, yeah, applause if you want.
So if you want to have good retirements, we need to start investing in children. They're going to be working for us when we're old. So.
Especially 5 to 12 years old. I mean, those other.
Yeah.
Dr. Dan, I want to say something.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for saying that, because it's very important. I mean, when we're talking about skills development, we're starting to think about our children who have left high school, and that's where we tend to have the conversation, but that's not where it starts and ends. But I do know, and we all know, that in terms of political imperatives, you're thinking about the next election. I want to get things that are going to be quick wins. But we have to get the quick wins, but we also have to understand that whatever we do has to be sustainable into the future. And so that investment in children doesn't provide returns next year or next week. It provides it down the road, but it's absolutely important. And it's important that we do both things simultaneously. And then when you spoke about heroes, that's important. 2 weeks ago, I was in Kingston at our World Skills competition put on by our national training agency. And there was the robotics competition. And there were 3 teams. 2 of them were all boys, and 1 was all girls. And the winners it was the all-girls team that won. And those types, and that's important for girls to feel that they can beat these guys. And these guys they're very handsome in their jackets and everything. They had suits and all.
But just like the colleagues of the panel, very handsome, right?
But they were confident, and the girls were there, they had their heads down. When I went to talk to them, they were busy doing the work, they barely interacted with me. Where the guys were, we have this is what we're doing, and this is how it's gonna be. Very different approach. But the girls, their robot was really good. And we have to have those images out there. Girls have to see them with their trophy and everything, and that's important as we go forward.
Otherwise, they won't know that it's a possibility.
Correct.
Thank you.
Jimena, you want to
No, I just wanted to say, we're talking about the education system, and I think that has to change. And I just wanted to mention some numbers, some data that I have here, and it's like the McKinsey Global Institute workforce, like they establish which are like the skills that the workforce of the future, but it's 2023, like of the present, has to have. And there's like a 14% reduction in physical and mental skills. And then there is a 26% increase in social emotional skills and 60% increase in technological skills. And then when you see the pie of the graduates of different careers, at least in Colombia, and then you see and you start understanding where are like STEM graduates, it's only 7%. And we're still having more people enrolled in economical and administration careers. And I think that's a problem. And we have to start from the basics, because as you were saying, what happens is that you enroll in school, and also a teacher in a university in Colombia was saying that to me, like my daughter is really good at mathematics, at math, she loves programming, but the school is very open to receive more initiatives related with sports and football, and then she doesn't feel like she has a place where to work or where to like have her skill going up. So I think that's a huge problem, and we have to think about if the educational system in Latin America and the Caribbean is working for the present and also for the future.
Yeah, we definitely need digital transformation in education. We can't keep teaching the same way. So we have less than 5 minutes, and we have to talk about the King Kong, AI. Very fast, Jesus, your take, is AI apocalyptical in terms of talent development? Is going to be a huge problem? Your take on that.
So throwing me under the bus first, right? So AI. My personal opinion of AI is that it's an empowerer. It will allow us to do more stuff quickly, but it also will demand that we evolve with it quickly as well. We need to harness the knowledge that it provides, but use our rationale and use what we do best, which is use our intuition and use our basically brains to use that knowledge for the greater good. And if we're able to unify those things, then AI is going to be a power for good. I do understand that the AI is also so it's also seen with skeptical eyes, but I believe that the early adopters will also get big dividends down the line if used correctly, and again by compounding with it for building and understanding better stuff. So,
Dr. Dana, your take.
AI, oh gosh.
King Kong.
There is so much talk about AI, and there is a lot of fear of AI. And we've seen it even in the global services space. There's a question of what's going to happen to our jobs. Is there going to be mass displacement of our jobs? But I think a lot of the early global studies, and obviously AI, it's been around for a while, but in terms of all of this new interest, it's new because we've made some significant leaps over the last few years. But I think a lot of the international studies show that there will be job displacement, but it also shows that there will be new areas and new industries that have been created because of AI. And so it is very important that as we talk about AI, that we understand the fear that's there. And there's been fear every time we've made any kind of technological leap. That has always been the case. And so we, as leaders and everybody in here, we have a responsibility to continuously speak about the opportunities that are available in terms of AI. I know for me, when I first heard of AI, you're, oh my gosh, what's happening? And even though I'm in this area, you still wonder. But then my 11-year-old last week, when she got her homework, said, Dad, I'm going to use ChatGPT to do it. I mean, she has no fear of AI. And we have to, obviously, in terms of our own educational system, understand how we are going to provide the other pieces of AI, because AI by itself, AI needs people to create it, and that people element is still important.
Felipe.
Well, there's a saying that says that if you hold a hammer for too long, everything starts looking like a nail. And I relate it with something that Martin Heidegger said 100 years ago. If he warned us that interacting with sophisticated machines that are deterministic would change the way that we think and make it deterministic. So if we interact with iPads instead of trees and rocks, then we'll become accustomed to activities and things that have a clear path, a clear input, and a clear output. And that will hamper our creativity, our critical thinking, and a bunch of other things that are crucial. So my take on AI is that in order to make the best out of AI, you need to have skills that can only be acquired through good old-fashioned, getting things done with your hands and your head. So AI is going to be a solution for many things, but if you really want to create conditions to make the best out of it, you need to be able to do other things very well.
Wonderful. Patrick.
I know we have to wrap up, so I'm just going to be very quick. AI, very powerful tool. I agree with my fellow panelists here, but you do have to prepare for the opportunities that are there. And many remember Y2K and the fear. Some of you probably pulled out your money out of the ATMs at that time.
I wasn't born in.
But I think there'll be opportunities. I am a little bit fearful, as far as not fearful, but concerned about the biases with hiring biases. I mean, there applicant tracking systems have those now with the colleges that you go to, keywords and so forth. I think AI looks at historical data, so their biases a long time ago, and they're going to continue. So it's just really getting around that. But I think we do have to prepare the talent for the jobs of the future.
Jimena, you close.
Just think it's here. We're experiencing a new era with the digital. This is now the real digital economy. And I think as well, as they were saying, we are not that prepared in Latin America and the Caribbean to fulfill those jobs or to receive those jobs that might be disappearing with the digital era. Then I go again through the educational system. And also we need to create a good law framework and understand what are we doing and what is happening when we interact with the artificial intelligence, because most of the people doesn't know that. And that also happened with cybersecurity. Cybersecurity has created a strong gap between the people that knows it, that understand how to protect themselves, that has the companies that has given the money to protect themselves, and the others that doesn't even understand what's happening there with their information. So I think it might be the same.
I know. We wish we have more time. You have it in terms of embrace technology, but don't become it. Education, education, education. When you talk about location, 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 is education, education, education. We have a lot of opportunities from Latin America and the Caribbean to export services. That was the key point of the panel. We didn't talk about it, but it was the key point. And thank you again for all these wonderful testimonies and opportunity to share that kind of information. I hope it was very good for you, and thank you, IDB, for this opportunity and the panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you.